Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show today. This is the third show in our series this week called Restrategise, Reskill, and Restart. My name is Sashe. I'm the host for today's show. And we've got a fantastic guest lined up for you today. But first, let me just recap what's happened this week. We actually started our first show earlier this week with Alina Amir from Arus Academy, where we talked about choosing the right platform. And Alina enlightened us with the work that she's doing with teachers and helping kids adopt, and teachers and kids adopt to the virtual world and how education is changing. And then we moved on to our second show, which was preparing for future careers with Dr. Pradeep of Taylor's University. And he shared a lot of interesting aspects of micro-credentialing and how careers are no longer fixed. And it's about learning to learn. I think that was a really nice quote that he put up. And today, we'd like to speak about the working world, right? The corporate world. And we've titled it Emerge Stronger from the Crisis. And we have with us Dr. Nora Manaf, who obviously most people know. She's the Group Chief Human Resources Officer at Maybank and part of the Group EXCO. She sits in many, many boards, including corporates, national level committees, technical academic institutes. I don't know whether people know this, but she's actually a chartered banker herself and an adjunct professor and a strengths coach. I mean, the list goes on, right? She's very, very accomplished. She also does a lot of great work in empowering women in many capacities at many levels, committees, working with the ministry as a mentor. So this is a golden opportunity, everyone who's signing in and logging in today. Don't miss the opportunity to ask your burning questions to Dr. Nora. And also share your comments, right, on what's discussed as I ask her some questions, as she shares her insights. We'd love to hear from you. So let's have Dr. Nora on the show. Shashik, if you can bring her up. There she is. Hello, welcome. Thank you for spending your Friday lunch with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. So Dr. Nora, I have come run into you a few times over the last few years, right? I've never really had a very detailed, in-depth discussion with you, so I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. But I wanted to share with you, a quick story. When I first moved into HR, I'm an IT engineer by training, right? I moved into HR, and one of the things I did was look up the HR industry, trying to understand the landscape in Malaysia, and your name kept coming up, and everything I read and everything I looked up. Because, no, I mean you were famous, right? Because especially I think after you were inducted into the global HR top 50 human resource professionals, I think somewhere in the about 8 years ago or so. I might be getting the date wrong, but yeah. So it's a pleasure, and you were one of the first few names I started getting to know in the HR fraternity in Malaysia. So it's nice to have you on the show today. So my first question to you is, maybe for the audience who didn't know, you're a chartered banker. And how did your career into HR start? Let's start with a little bit of personal anecdotes here.
Okay. Well, Sashe, I just got my chartered banker conferment by the Institute in Scotland last year. I'm a chartered accountant.
You're a chartered accountant. Okay.
Yes.
And how did that career progress?
Yeah. And actually, it wasn't by design. I had no inkling what HR was all about, actually. Yeah, I had many jobs before joining HR, actually. Yeah, and none of those. Actually, I had 14 jobs across my livelihood right now. This current job is my 14th. I've been in 5 industries, and all the 14 jobs, except for the first 2, are outside accounting, right?
Okay.
What I was qualified for. Yeah. So
and why is that? Because that's a very new age thing, right? To be moving industries and things like that.
I know. Which
Back
is
then you were
why,
doing it.
Sashe, I always say, please don't generalize with the generational stuff. Okay. I have been a supposed Gen Y, millennial, whatever, right? Supposedly moving and all that, even from my early days. But again, to your question, it was never I have no claim to being the one who strategized my career path, right? Absolutely none, zilch. Every job, it was an offer. So that's the other thing. 12 out of my 14 jobs, I didn't have to apply, including Maybank, right? Someone, some angel,
Called
right,
you up.
opened doors for me. I grabbed the opportunities, and I try to ace it. I'm very kiasu, by the way. So I try to ace everything that I'm given. And I think because of that, managers loved me, right? And people
Right.
saw me. And so every job after that, it was an invitation, including HR.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was going into, but there's a strong message there. Thank you for asking, right? Because what I tell people though, right, whilst you must grab and use every opportunity given to you, right, and you must not let the person down, whoever opens the doors for you, which means that I am crazy when in terms of making sure that I don't fail the person. So if I don't feel the person, then I don't feel myself, right? So I get myself as much knowledge as possible for every job that I've been given, right? And so for HR, for example, I told the person who hired me, okay, who offered me, I said, okay, I'll come in, I'll do what you want me to do. There were two things he wanted me to do. But I said, after that, can you sponsor me? So that's when I did my Cornell
Nice.
certification, and I got my strengths. Later, I got my Strengths Finder coach certification, and so forth. So it's important not to pretend.
Yeah.
Don't be the blind leading the blind. I could
Yeah.
have pretended because the first HR job was already quite senior in terms of the position, right? But my God, I'm so thankful that I wasn't that arrogant, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I could just, as long as I don't make mistakes, right? My God, that would have been really, really disastrous for any organization to hire me, right?
Yeah. So actually, there's quite a bit of lessons there from your personal journey, very related to what we're talking about, which is, emerging stronger from the crisis. Just firstly is grab opportunities, right? It's not like you always know what's the right path. Sometimes paths open, and you've got to be, observant enough and capable enough
Yep.
to catch it. And then, like you said, having the transferable skills is what I would say. If you jumped industries and jobs,
Yep.
transferable skills to overcome it,
Yep.
right? Excellent. So very on point there. But let me ask you first a state of the union question, kind of, Dr. Nora, you're so involved in the Malaysian talent pool in so many capacities, like I said, in Maybank as well as outside, right? You probably have a good gauge of what's going on in the industry. You probably have your, finger on the pulse. Um, so very broadly, what do you think the state of talent is in Malaysia, in the working world in general, maybe? And what are the big shifts you're seeing, especially post-pandemic? Very broad question, and then we'll narrow it down.
Okay, let me put on my bulletproof vest first, Sashe.
Okay, great. Yeah, more controversial, the better.
Well, because I I believe, right, that we are not short of the right talents. You need to know how to look. So organizations, employers, people who are looking, right? You need to know how to look. You need to be very conscientious in terms of how you're going to be selecting, right? So that's the first point, right? Because I know that as a reaction, most people will say, yeah, there's a dearth of talents. Okay.
That's the most common message out there, right? That there's not enough. Okay.
Yes.
You're saying
Why do
no,
I
there
say
is.
that? Because when I actually want to, and when, for example, Maybank wants to find someone, we will find. So that's a good thing, right? We will find. We will be able to find. But yeah, not so much in the traditional way or conservative ways, maybe. Yeah. And we've proven that over and over, right from the most junior entry level, actually right up to the C-suite, right? In terms of looking for people, right? So not going the conservative, traditional, supposedly known ways, right? But to your question, what's even more important is, do we have the right leaders, right? Yeah,
Topic we're
for
passionate
me,
about.
I do my self-reflection every day. Hopefully I'm, again, I my worst fear is being arrogant, okay?
Yeah.
And that's when I'm overconfident and so forth. So So if we all, right, because we are leaders, right, if we all, do a reflection, I think that's the important thing. Do we have, yes, the right leaders? Or rather, we do have good leaders. Just as, I don't want to contradict my first point. Like, we do have talents, but are also leaders doing the right things? Yeah, that's
The right people doing the right things.
Yeah, and that's so relevant to the emerging stronger, because if emerging stronger from the last, oh my God, painful 18 months now, right, is to do the same things. Come on. Einstein says we are insane, right? And I will be so mad, I tell you. I will be so angry because COVID-19, yes, without disrespecting the fact that we've lost so many lives, millions of lives, right? Families overnight lost both parents, right? Or parents losing their child, right? That is so painful. Companies collapsing, right? Organizations, losing their stability. Mom and pops, right?
Shutting down.
Closing down, and so on. So it is painful, but there are so many silver linings. So
Such
my
as?
worry, we are emerging from the crisis, full stop, not stronger. So I would say, are leaders doing the right things? That is the worry. Because you can channel the talents rightly if the leader is doing the right thing.
Okay.
Right?
So let
Otherwise,
me sorry to interrupt you. So let me just ask you a question to dive deeper into that. So, you said we can find the right talent. Talent to me is somebody with potential, right? And then you have to have the right leaders doing the right things, which means from that potential, you have to translate that to actual capability, competency, ability to action on that. So, so what do you think are that, the changing skill sets that we need to get to that doing the right thing? What do you see?
Yeah. So, so I link it back to what I was saying about learnings from COVID-19, right? Because actually we knew, Sashe, all the answers that I'm going to give to you, right? We already knew pre-COVID. But knowing doesn't mean doing, right?
That's right.
And we have been accommodating. When I say we, it transcends, right? Organizations, right? Businesses, as well as government, as well as societies, communities, right? We have humans, because we are creatures of habit, right? And we are more comfortable with the devil we know, right? So we try to, like ants, right? We go around the issues and we try to make do, right? Or we do incremental improvements, right? So I'm not a big fan of Kaizen. I'm a big fan of moonshot.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
So,
All right.
yeah. So
I'll come back to that later. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But you see, so COVID-19, right? To your point, right? Is telling us we can do what we thought was so hard to do. For example, work from home, right? It's not a new concept, right? I was on work from home way back in 2005 in London, right? I could work from home. All I needed to do, of course, there are rules. It's not free for all, right? All I needed to do is make sure my supervisor knows that I'm working from home that day, and that I could get to the office if I'm needed within an hour. So that's the London transportation, right? Within an hour, you should be able to get to the office if you are required. So there are, risks, and there are governance, of course. But what did it take off? No, right? And yet we say, yeah, we are diverse and we want to be inclusive. We have not taken that seriously. And then here comes COVID-19, largest experiment on earth. Thank God, because now even our tata and our akong and our grandma, right, know what work from home means, and it's fine, right? We know who knows, and the other learning, of course, we know who can work from home and who can't. It's not one solution for everybody, right? And that's what diversity and inclusivity means, right? Some people, yes, went into anxiety disorder because of work from home, right? Because they need structure. Okay, fine. Then you go to the office, right? But then there are others, people like me, oh my God, I cannot perform if I have supervisor breathing on my neck, even when I was in my 20s. I'm a very independent person, and my husband will tell you that. That's his bane. All right. I am independent and I value my own time, right? But I will give you 200%. If you want 100%, I'll give you 200%, right? So then let me be. That is inclusivity. And that's understanding. So those are, things that, like I said, we already knew. Technology, come on. Zoom was already there, Microsoft Teams, right? What was already, you have a master's in tech, come on, right? Prior to COVID, it's already here. Did you and I take it seriously? I mean, everybody, right?
Yeah.
No, if I meet you over Zoom, right, it will feel incomplete, isn't it? We still need to go and have coffee, right? Today, we want to have coffee because we want to have coffee, not because we feel it's been,
it's the way to do it. It's the only way to do
it. Exactly.
The
so
choice.
we need to really make those changes. So emerging stronger means, and I like the tagline, right? Restrategize, reskill, restart. You asked me about the reskilling. I know I'm taking the long way, but
go for it.
You have to understand that nobody is untouched, right? Today, you tell me who's untouched, right? Everybody needs to remodel. You have to remodel, and that's what I mean by it's moonshot. Now it's about moonshot. It's not about come on, there's lesser footfall, right? So you can wish all you want, right, for the days prior to COVID, but the whole ecosystem is changed, right? For us in Maybank, right, if you are selling nasi lemak outside Menara Maybank, immediately whatever happens, even if it's like totally now like flu, right? Everybody's just, which is bad, right? I hate it when people, have sniffles and come and have flu, come to the office and talk to me. God, because it's contagious. So, anyway, so Menara, please know that if you sell the nasi lemak and you're banking on our 6,000-7,000 coming back, no way, right? Already 2,000 are going to be in another building that we've already taken up. That's more than 150,000 square feet, right? Because the 2,000 will be there. And the remaining 5,000, about 4,000 of our staff are permanently work from home. They are called mobile, right? They've been given official letters right from end of last year. So they are not going to be going every morning and going back every night, the way that it was. So things are changing. So if you do not re-strategize, I'm sorry. I worry that you will. You will find yourself Kodak very soon.
Right.
And so the skills, and the other thing we knew before COVID, we knew that Python, coding, right? Those are foundation skills. Data scientists have told me this even way, many years ago, and I was in New York. I remember we were all like, wow, this is a data scientist coming to talk to us. Okay. The first thing she said to us was, who do you think I am? I'm not God, right? I don't know how to cure the world's ills, right?
Yeah.
I need to understand what you want to do. Then I'll tell you how I could probably do it from my expertise, right?
Yeah.
So, so what are the skills? Problem solving, right? And resiliency, right? And so forth. Those are the skills that we need to couple more integratedly together. So again, we knew about this, but we didn't take it very seriously, right?
I think,
and then the restart, right? So
go ahead.
Reskill, restart, right? For restart, again, if we don't take the diversity seriously, I'll give you one easy example, right? Two extremes. I don't know how many of you seen that video. If you've not, I did forward as well in my LinkedIn, but it's going around. The office people having to come back to the office and handheld by their child, right? You should watch it. It's hilarious and sad at the same time, right?
Okay.
So it's like us parents sending our little child to kindergarten those days, right?
The other way around.
And so it's the reverse, right? So that's one. There are although I hope it's minority, there are those who are freaking out right now, afraid. They actually are not looking forward to having to go to the office, even if it's 1 day a week, right? They are worried, right? So this is the extreme, one extreme. And the other end of the extreme are people who are just praying for, like I said, to go back to what they are familiar with, right? Before COVID. So the bad news to them is it's not going to happen. Not going to happen, right? There are enough of us. Okay, not all are like the CEO of Morgan Stanley, who infamously, to me, it's infamously said, no, as far as Morgan Stanley is concerned, everybody works from the office, right? So, but there are enough of us who truly believe that, if we do that, then we are not learning from the crisis, right? So we need to, and if I'm talking to the HR fraternity, how are you supporting these two extremes and in between, the rest in between, right? You cannot use a one size fits all in terms of the enabling return to work, handrails and so forth, and policies need to change as well if that's not been done. Sorry, Sashe.
No, great insights, because I think you categorize it as restrategize, reskill, restart. I have so many questions and follow-up questions, but let's start with your last statement. You said restart. Part of what it takes to restart is to understand that there are different types of scenarios at play now, right? This new normal means we need to embrace, as you called it, diversity and inclusion, which a lot of people sometimes think it's just
Gender.
age, sex, gender, all sorts of things. But it's not. It's about preferences. It's about working styles. It's about a lot of other things, which you accurately pointed out. Now, there's going to be a lot of resistance, right? And there's going to be a lot of resistance from different levels. From HR may have an idea, but then operations is going to push back, and then top management is going to push back, and things like that. Any thoughts on this? Any ideas on that, and how we could embrace all sorts of types of working today?
Yeah, that was thanks for that question, Sashe, because that gives me a segue to emphasize or rather explain what I mentioned just now in terms of, are you prepared to support the different groups of people within that spectrum? It is true, definitely. I mean, managers, for one, right, are also freaking out because they are now being faced, if they are working for Maybank, right, and in other, I would like to say, like-minded, forward-looking organizations, right, they are now being faced with a group of people that are so different, right? One group is going to be, yes, in the office 9 to 5, right? Not probably all productive, because work from office has never been perfected. Okay, and then there's one or two who are working from home, and then another few because of BCP, business continuity, another lesson from COVID-19. We are split, right? Most organizations who again take business continuity and making sure that we can weather another crisis, which we will, by the way, right? Very soon, whether it's virus or
it's not an if, right? It's a when.
in space, right? Because we poke the environment, right? That's how that's one of the theories, zoonotics, right? Now we're poking sky, right? We're poking space. Don't know what's going to jump, right? So another crisis will come, right? So most organizations have split their groups and sitting in at least 15 kilometers away buildings, right? So managers are freaking out. I know that, right? And then, of course, on top of the different groups of people who have to go back to the office but don't want to go back to the office. And then another group of people. So, because we are supposed to also not disregard that people who are comfortable. Because let's say everybody's going back to the office, but the manager's not doing anything different, right? Now, that is a major risk. Now, again, I don't know if anyone feels that their business does not need to change, right? For banks, definitely we need to change. Bill Gates said in the 80s, and this was 80s, right? People don't need banks. He is right? People need to do financial transactions, yes. People need financial well-being, yes. But they don't need banks per se, right? The way that it was. So, Everybody needs to OD. So OD, again, right? I had people who said to me, of course we know what's OD, Chair. You know, because you've been
That's the
working in
ego
the
you talked about, right?
yes.
Not to have that ego.
Yeah. Come on, right? What I know is most people are doing job evaluations, and stuff like that. That's not what I mean. It's actively redesigning, the structure, the people, the tasks, the roles, the process, figuring out, right? Man, machine, algo, right? So everybody's just looking at machine and algo. What's going to happen to humans? Another lesson learned from the crisis, right? And purpose. Come on, we talk about purpose, but everybody lectures on purpose. I want them to show me what you're doing, right? Because if you actually focus on purpose, then the jobs have to be redesigned, right? It goes without saying, right? And using machine and algo goes without saying. If and I'm a board member too, the first thing I would check is, are you using the tools that digitalization have brought us, right? If you're not, then you are not doing your job, right? Because there are opportunity losses. And then the reaction will be, but then people won't have jobs, right? Well, that's not what I meant. We may need more people, right? If we figure out what they're supposed to be doing, that can bring the moonshot revenues. That's what I was alluding to, right?
Yeah.
If nothing else changes, yes, then just incremental. If not, actually going, falling over, right?
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
I those are some of the early, thoughts that I have really.
Yeah.
In
I'd
terms
like
of
to. Yeah, I'd like to run with that a little bit because now I see where you're coming from in terms of Kaizen versus moonshot, right? And then for the audience, Kaizen means small incremental improvements, and moonshot means big holistic changes. Because like you pointed out, when you do OD, you shouldn't just look at these structures. You should then question holistically, and that's where kind of the moonshot mentality comes in. How do you relook at the whole big picture and change it all around? Do we need managers? Do managers need to have this structure? Do we need a matrix, not matrix? Looking at everything instead of just saying, let me look at his job scope and change the job scope a little bit. Because that would be the Kaizen way. Moonshot way would be looking at it the whole thing, right? So I kind of get that. I might still argue with you that we need both, but we'll leave that for a different discussion.
We need more. No.
Yeah,
nothing
we
extreme,
definitely.
nothing. But I just need to shock myself and people so that we take this more seriously. Sorry, Sashe. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest advice that you're giving here is that look for moonshots, look holistic, look at diversity and inclusion, look big picture. How do you top to bottom, right? Re-strategize and then restart. So let me now jump into the reskill part a little bit more. Let's dive deeper into there. As you are, and your advice is very valid. Like look moonshots, big picture, which means you might even have to train managers how to be managers in the new normal.
Yes.
How do people be more critical and things like that. What do you think those skills are that are in most demand right now that will take us to the next level? If you were to call out, you said critical thinking, problem solving. Are there anything else that you'd like to call out as major skills that are changing?
It's really about solutioning. I know, again, people might think that, oh, yeah, we know what solutioning is, right? But no, if it's solutioning within the ecosystem, right? That is really hard, Sashe. That is really hard. I know it's hard. And that's why we need to have these conversations, right, together. And that's why we need to be a support system to each other, right? Because again, another COVID-19 lesson is everyone is connected. We are connected. Yes. I can say I can take care of myself, right? Don't bother me, right? But I could infect others, or you could infect me, right?
We are connected and dependent.
Yeah. Exactly. Very correlated, very interdependent, very connected. That's why, Singapore calls it circuit breaker, right? We have to break So, solutioning, we can break it down, right?
Okay.
In terms of skills. But it starts, because I'm a believer that, and I saw that really in even in banking. Okay, I'll give an example in banking, right? we had people certified by the best authorities, okay, global standard, right? So certification good, and then attended course after course, so certificates fill the whole four walls, right? And yet, credit papers done are not strong, right?
Why is
Judgment
that?
still not. Yeah, exactly, right? So we are not talking about, again, the way it was looked at previously. Because I don't want to, I'm holding myself back. I'm holding myself back because then everybody's going to go checklist, right? Okay, let's go for problem solving course. And then this course, that course.
Okay.
No, it has to be, the 70-20-10, for example, is totally now in the fore, right? Again, sorry for those who are not HR people. This may be jargon, right? 70 is experiential, 20% of human, mentoring, coaching, supported, and then 10% only is classroom, right?
And content,
So it's really to the fore. Why? Because it's about this, you and I, right? Micro learning, micro training, right? JIT, just in time, right? And real, right?
Yeah.
Because, and that's the other thing, because I need to actually use it now, right? To be able to deliver something moonshot, right? And then I go back in when I need to, but didn't go quite right? So what did I do wrong, right? So I need to go back in. So training per se needs to use digital platforms, needs to be bite-sized, that's micro, right? And needs to cover every connected area, right? And dimension. And so the other aspect is, of course, is, which is what we do, when we teach future ready skills, and we partner one of the best, right, out there, right? The training is really experiential, and results must come almost immediately, right? So bite-sized results. We have been in pre-COVID, been going with hackathons and teaching scrums and, right, agile methodologies, but it's been disconnected to reality and real life, right? This is something that really needs to change, because people need to actually do it all the time, every time, and be supported to make those mistakes and so forth. So all those that we already talked about and knew comes to the fore today, right? So if you look at our curriculum, which we call #learning never stops, for example, right? Now my team, the team with the tech team, so thankful for them, right? We pivoted immediately within a few weeks, right? In March last year, when for the first time everybody was like, oh my God, what do we do at home, right? So the top team, we agreed immediately, right? Learning is productive time. So we will count it. So now we need a platform, right? But we are not a Silicon Valley organization, right? So I'm not embarrassed to say, right, that out of our 43,000 people, right, not even half had laptops, official laptops. And because we are a bank, access needs to be a bank equipment, right? So we had to rely on this, because you and I know that, there's a release many years ago to say, in the world, more people have mobile phones, smartphones, than clean toilets, than access to clean toilets. Yeah, that's
sad,
a
but
fact.
true.
Yeah, so we knew that our 43,000 people all had mobile phones, that's for sure, right? So our #learning never stops actually sits on mobile. And if you look at what we cover, right, a lot of what we cover, of course we have decision making tools and so forth, but it's a lot about the behavioral aspects, right, and giving the confidence. And also we supplement that with emotional and fitness. So we actually focus on the 4 fitness, right? Mental fitness,
Okay.
which also includes knowledge and training and data, but also mindsets, right? Emotional fitness. And so we have
Okay.
Happy Zoom, we have, hashtag work from home challenge and so forth, right? Because we knew that there were people who were struggling with the life that we were faced with. And
The
then
well-being aspects.
physical, and finally performance, definitely performance fitness. And that's why, but on the performance fitness, that's why it's so important on the purpose. Yeah, now we all need to understand what's our purpose. So when I talk to bankers, I always say to them, guys, we have to make profit. That's a given, right? And it's not because we're mercenaries, right? Because firstly, we cannot be the ones raising the white flags, right? We have to be the ones able to help, not the ones needing help. So if we don't make profits, our jobs go away, we join those people who need help.
Yeah.
That's the worst
Yeah.
nightmare, right? So I say
Yeah.
to them, we have a platform to help ourselves, make sure we help ourselves, our families, and then we can help others, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, we
Yeah.
can't even help ourselves.
Yeah.
How can we help others? So purpose doesn't mean you, okay, fine, we all join a monastery and not make money, right? We have to make money so that we can help others and make the world a better place and help the world heal,
Yeah.
right? And I want to be in that situation, Sashe, rather than asking for help, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we start with that,
Yeah.
then that's what I was saying just now, right? In terms of then the thinking in terms of what do we train our people on becomes more real, right? Otherwise, it's short sendiri. You just say, okay, good, we're doing a great job. Why? Because we've ticked the courses that needs to be there. Nora Manaf says, oh my God, that would be my nightmare, right? And then simply forget everything else, right? So you see, I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
restraining
No,
myself.
that's great.
Yeah.
No, that's great because typically 10 out of 10 when I ask this question or anybody asks this question, there will be a list, right? These are the top skills, or WF has their own top skills, right? So I
Yeah.
really applaud you for saying
Sashe, you
there
know
is
what I
no
want to say?
list.
Just Google
Yeah.
lah, right?
Yeah.
Worst case,
Yeah.
go into World Economic Forum, top skills, top
Forum.
jobs. You've got
Yeah.
it all there. You don't need to come and have a conversation with Sashe and Nora Wanaf to know that.
Fantastic. I love it. So I applaud you for saying that. Actually, it's not about the skills. It's about is it practical to what you need to accomplish? Does it fit the whole big picture, your strategy? And it's solutioning, right? And it's got to be practical and it's got to be applicable immediately. And of course, true to my heart, you mentioned digital and micro learning, which is what we're all about. So thank you for that as well. But let me take a minute to read some comments. I see a comment which was posted up earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt. Leon says, fantastic insights as always, great stuff. Roshan's with us today. Roshan said he recapped, mental fitness, emotional fitness, physical fitness, and performance
Thanks,
fitness,
Roshan.
and being able to focus on those 4 things. I think that's great, to look at it holistically. Like you said, it's always holistic, right? Look at everything. Teacher Kian said, I love what Dato says about bite-sized results and takeaways. So thank you all for that comments. Yeah, please keep it coming. We look forward to more of those comments. So back to reskilling. We did have a question earlier, which I'm maybe gonna ask. To some, as leaders, what would be your recommended ways for finding diamonds in the rough? So in the organization, right? So talent is about potential. So how would you look for talent in this, as we emerge from crisis, so that we can accelerate their growth and help get them to help us in this, re-strategizing and restarting?
Yeah, thanks, Eva, right? So
yes,
Eva, I'm gonna answer because I keep disciplining myself. Okay, I don't want to be arrogant and say I'm there and I'm already what I'm saying. What I'm saying to everybody is something that I'm also getting myself comfortable with. Okay, so let me declare that first. So we need to be data driven. We need to make sure, like I said, we use what we teach and what we preach, right? So to your question, Sashe, firstly, what does your data tell you, right? In your organization or the people that you're accountable for, if you're in a classroom, teacher Kian was saying just now, right? Do you actually know your students? Do we know our talents in organizations? So what does the database give us? We must start from there before we start preaching, right? Before we start saying, okay, these are what we need to do, right? So in looking for talents, firstly, I start with asking the team to extract from our database, okay? And that's minimum in terms of the what this person's done before, what the person's been involved in, the qualifications of the person, and then go deeper, right? How has this person been as a staff, as a manager? Then that's the employee engagement survey results, right? So there are many other sources of data that you need to look at and analyze in an integrated manner. Okay, that's what I would do first when I want to understand the talent. But it doesn't stop there, because stopping there is something that a lot of people do already from a recruitment standpoint. Because those listening to me now might say, yeah, that's what we do for recruitment.
Okay.
But then that's just minimum. Okay, then you need to understand the person. So this is current times, digital times, is about customization and personalization. Again, don't just talk about it, don't just preach, practice it. So I'm practicing it as well, right? When I say you can find the talents if you know how to look for it, right? A simple example is how we do Go Ahead Challenge, Maybank Go Ahead Challenge, to look for how to differentiate everybody with the same CV after graduating, right? So it's the reality of how the person really is, but that takes a lot of time. Now, this is, I'm giving some cues on a job redesign, an OD intervention in terms of job redesign, task reallocation within the human resource function, right? Understanding someone on a personal basis is non-negotiable. Otherwise, you will lose good talents in the future, okay? And you won't be able to attract the right talents anyway, right? And that takes time. So most people now, the role will be not calling for interviews or calling people to come and meet if you're already in the organization, right? It would be spent on having conversations, on analyzing further what your analysis tells you based on real life conversations, right? And so that's what I do. And what do I look for therefore, right? I watch people, even using Zoom, I can watch people, right? So we are getting better and better. We are getting more and more experienced and skilled in non-verbals, in everything that we need to do in a communication, interpersonal class that we are taught in, right? We're already doing it. I can scope, right, my screen with 20 people, what the temperature is just by the visuals, right? The facial expressions and so forth. But what do I look for? So coming back to this, right? I look for people who care. That's what I mean by solutioning. My pantang, my taboo, okay, are people who don't care. There are, oh my God, Eva, there are more people who don't care than those who care. They won't admit it, okay? Because if you care, then you will follow through. You won't just send somebody you've not been successful letter, let's say, if you're internal, right? Even if external. Yes, we used to say you must be polite, courteous, good for the brand, right? Make sure you inform the person. But digital times is more than that. If you really care, right? Because what do we care? We care that people have a livelihood based on our COVID experience, right? So sustainable solutions, sustainability, right? Because otherwise, if S fails in the ESG, not just the environment, not just climate, right? If societies fail, there will be war. Okay? So we cannot, bubble ourselves and ring fence ourselves from societies collapsing around us, right? If people don't have jobs, it becomes our problem too. That's the care, right? So you care enough, and again, that's a job that board members will bless. Why? Because as Larry Fink says, and Larry Fink, he's BlackRock, right, manages the largest asset under management in the world. So we better pay attention, isn't it? Larry Fink says purpose will come with profit, right? You care, money will come, right? That's moonshot, right? So I would, right, be also going and telling the person how best to find the right fit for you, right? I could even go further to refer the person. Then only I let go when the person is able to stand on his or her own feet. We do that in Maybank too. Okay. So I look for people who care, Eva. Really, right? And it's not just words, right? So I will ask simple things like, if you're a HR person, right? I can pull out one of the cases that this person handled, let's say, right? So do you know what happened to this guy after the training or after the interview? Now, if the person says, "Oh, well, I told the manager," right? That's not my talent. Okay, because let's say I'm looking for someone to give a good role in or a good job, right?
Yeah.
That's my filter.
Okay.
Not so,
Okay.
because the qualifications and everything is a minimum requirement.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for that. I think that's again, you're sticking to what you're saying, is that there's some baseline competencies, capabilities, job assessments that you can do, but ultimately, can you feel that this person cares? And when you say care, it's not care to get the task done; it's care to deliver the value, the bigger value, that, like you said, to be holistic value, right?
Yes.
And that's important. That's very nicely said. I have a ton of questions, but I'm going to give some time for the audience questions as well. I'm going to pull out one more question here by Timothy, and I'll summarize the question by Timothy. It's basically, how are employees at Maybank accepting this new way of learning and reskilling, especially micro digital? Acceptance globally is quite low, right? And what's your take on that? How are people adopting to this?
The good news is we've been exercising our muscles since 2018 in terms of digital behavior and digital learning, right? Because if anybody can recollect, right, 2018 January, I think it was, we told the world that we were going to invest in at least 70 million or 40 million.
That's right.
Anyway, we spent much more than that, right?
Yeah.
In terms of future readying our people. Why? Again, purpose, so that we leave nobody behind, right? We don't want to leave anybody behind, which is why Maybank, we did not, right? Last few years, we didn't say, okay, we're going to retrench people, right? Or even if it's softer, voluntary separation, okay? We're not going to VSS people because we have robotized or because we have RPA, right? Of course, we are actively RPAing, right? We are very aggressive. Our sama-sama local, our MTU and all that are evidences. But what we do is we want to make sure we land our people on their feet. Not that we retain everybody. We have from 48,000 high, we are now 42,000 plus. Okay, so we have helped our people move away out of the bank, but they land on their feet. Okay, so we already had the exercise, as I said. Right? So here's the numbers, right? And I'm a chartered accountant by training, right? So 30,000 unique learners every month, okay? 350,000 hours of learning, okay?
Wow.
So you can do the maths, right? Even if your organization is 5 people, then you take the ratio, isn't it, right? So more than 70% of our people, right? That's what unique learners, we actually track, right? They are learning, they're actively learning. And most of our program, right, until today, is not physical. So they go into our hashtag learning never stops. We do subscribe to a few. Also, I think we also with Necole, right? Okay. And Harvard Managed Mentor, Sparks. So we are selective, but we make sure it's in total and in totality, right? The different aspects, not just technical. I would say the take-up rate's been really good. Thanks for the question. But, and remember, right, demographically, we are not all below 30-year-olds, right? Yeah. Although, yes, our average age is 38, right? Yeah. In spite of what people think, okay? But we are diverse and inclusive again, right? We do have people who are in their 60s, right? And very productive in our organization. But majority of our people are actually 45 and below.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for that. I'm also mindful of time. We're coming towards the end of the show, so we want to leave a little bit of time at the end. But yeah, keep your comments and questions coming. Eva says, "Thank you, Dr. Nora. That's very insightful."
Thank you.
And Roshan also earlier said, but conversations with Sashe and Nora Manaf is so engaging and exciting. Googling is not so cool and fun. So they'd rather listen to you than Google, which is fair. So I kind of want to recap a little bit what you said, right? And I want to make sure that we compress that down so that people can have key takeaways. And Dr. Nora, please correct me if I'm saying this correctly or if you want to add on to this. From what I heard, I want to kind of summarize it. So when you said re-strategize, you really looked at it being holistic. You talked about moonshots, but you talked about everything, looking at everything top down, not focusing on little areas that you can improve. How can you look at the whole thing, big picture, right? And then when we talked about reskill, you really said, it's about solutioning your needs, right? What is that skill and needs that you need for that particular role? You mentioned digital, you mentioned micro, but really it's about finding people who care and then solutioning that role. And then restart, like you said, we need to be holistic again, diversity and inclusion, being able to cater to different kinds of preferences, styles, and getting started that way. And then throughout the whole thing, I think you were very, you're walking the talk where you said, it's not about specific skills. It's about solutioning your needs. And it's also very commendable that you're looking at it holistically. It's not only about your company, it's about your society. We all live in an ecosystem. We're all dependent on each other. And so when you restart, please keep that in mind as well. So did I capture that correctly? Is there anything that you want to kind of add on to that?
I couldn't ask for a better summary. Thank you so much, Sashe.
Okay, no problem. As we're closing up, and I know you have follow-on engagements as well. I want to ask you, what's happening in your life and in Maybank that our audience can get excited about, can hear about. I'm sure you are very active. You do a lot of things, and Maybank likewise as well. So I want to give you a few minutes here to share about some new things that are happening in your world.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
There are a few that I would love for our ecosystem to help, right?
Yeah.
Well, firstly, we are aggressively wanting to ensure that we give everybody an opportunity, right? In terms of rebuilding their lives. So we offer multiple, right, financial solutions right down from Sama-Sama Local. Sama-Sama Local is free. So if your neighborhood store or hawker or shop, right, is facing problems, have them put onto our Sama-Sama Local platform, right? Because that's one way for us to immediately help them. We have fabulous examples. There was this customer of ours, who could not pay her car installments, and if we didn't care enough, and this was last year, we could have just, that was what we would do, right? We would just cut her off, right? But one of our team members and this is in Negeri Sembilan, right? She went and visited. Her name is Dino, this lady. She sells lemang, okay? And she says, how on earth am I going to pay my installments when I can't sell my lemangs, right? So we immediately put it on to cut the story short, we could immediately put her onto Sama-Sama Local. Today, if you want to buy, and I encourage you to try, it's very, very good. There's a waiting list, if I'm not wrong, about 2 weeks waiting list, right? And and she's doing really, really great. So that's one. Two, we actually early this year, right? The senior management, we contributed. This is personal. We contributed and we collected now about 2.2, almost 2.3 million now, right? And we partner with Mercy, and Mercy, of course, coordinates with KKM. Why? Because we want to help accelerate. So our target in terms of vaccination, so we need your help. If you know of, the homeless, rural, urban poor, not just rural, right? Urban poor who have not been able to get, vaccination, connect with us. And then, of course, we are going to the rural areas as well, via Mercy Malaysia and our teams over there. So maybe these two for a start, right, is where we could really need your help.
And where would they go for that vaccination drive? What would be that link? Maybe our producers can put it up on the chat here.
Well, no, we will have to connect you. So
Okay.
they could text, me or any of my Maybank colleagues. They will then refer, because Mercy Malaysia will have a list, right? And then we'll tell you when they are, let's say, in Chowkit, or when they are in, last week they were in Johor Bahru.
Got it. It's a moving thing. Okay. Got it.
PPV, yeah. Then you'll know where the location is. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so for those who are listening, please spread the news, right? Number one is Sama Sama Local, which you can find on the Maybank homepage. It's a link off of there. And also this initiative to get people vaccinated. Please, reach out to anyone in Maybank and Mercy Malaysia for that. Fantastic initiatives. Thank you for that. So again, mindful of time, I want to ask you any final advice for anyone listening. There was a question by Daniel Cheong. We may not have time to answer the full question, but I think the advice, Dr. Nora, is what would be your advice to traditional industries or smaller companies to use moonshots instead of kaizens? Because it may be a bit daunting, right? It sounds like very big, very investment heavy, effort heavy, talent heavy. How do smaller companies, perhaps, or traditional companies, any advice?
Daniel, for one, please contact me, right? Because we, like I said, we are very, very interested to help SMEs, right? And smaller companies to rebuild better. And it's moonshot type, right? It's also to make sure that we are helping our companies transition to ESG, right? ESG focus and meeting of UN SDGs. So, the thing about cost, right? It is going to be expensive if there is no additional revenue sources identified for your traditional businesses. So this is where I would offer ourselves up as just to have a conversation, if nothing else, right? Because you open up the minds, right? And open up the supply chain, right? And possible sources of income. Because you have to make sure that you care enough for the staff, right? We don't want another issue of people being jammed into small rooms for accommodation, right? Or their lodging, and then not being paid rightly. Oh my God, right? So yes, you have to pay your people right and well, so that they will deliver the moonshot results. But then you have to remodel the business and find new ways to operate. That one requires conversations, and and it's not the old way of hiring a McKinsey, which most companies can't afford anyway, right? So we'll do it together. The society, we need to come together, just as we did during COVID.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks. The banks can be part of that partnership, right? That provide those services to help you rethink the holistic effort that it will require. Okay, so thank you for that, and we're coming close to time. And Dr. Nora Manaf, thank you so much for joining us today. Very, very powerful insights. And for the rest of you who are listening, I'm sorry if I didn't get to all the questions or all the comments. You can follow Dr. Nora on social media channels. She's very easy to find. She's very popular. You can follow her on LinkedIn at the very least. Yeah. And thank you for joining us today on our final episode of Restrategise, Reskill, Restart. And with that, I want to give a shout out to the sponsoring products of this show. So as always, the show is brought to you by Necole. It's our learning solution, digital learning solution. You can check it out at necole.tech. And also Budaya, which is our employee engagement solution. And you can check that out at budaya.app. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback on the show, you can reach out to us at learn@leaderonomics.com, and we'll get back to you. Or if you want to reach out to Dr. Nora regarding anything that she mentioned on this show, there was lots of good information that was shared. Please do reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah. And with that, thank you and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.